Hey there everybody, this is Lee with Creative Two-Time Mom, and this video is going to be all about our port of call in Victoria, British Columbia. So Victoria was our final port of call on this last cruise, and it is just this beautiful, beautiful city. It's not very big, but I still feel like the time that you have there, especially this last cruise, we only had like 5 hours there. It was such a small amount of time, and there's so much to see and do in Victoria. It's hard to squeeze it all in. You really have to pick and choose what you want to do while you're there. We have done excursions in the past where we've booked through the cruise line. This time we chose not to. This time we just got bus passes through the local city bus, and I will link that down below. They were $10 for the entire day. Now we were only there for 5 hours, but if you have a longer time in Victoria, so worth it. Even for 5 hours, it was so worth it just to get from the boat into the city because it's not walkable. A lot of the ports of call in Alaska, you are right there in downtown. In Victoria, that's just not the case. It would be really hard to walk into the city, especially with such a small window of time there. You're going to want to have that transportation ticket. So I will link them down below. This time we chose to just take one short excursion in Victoria and just spend a lot of time around the city. We did some window shopping, picked up, of course my husband picked up coffee, and we just looked around the city. We did stop for tea at the Empress Hotel, and that is something that we did when it was just my husband and I and my mom and my grandma. That very first cruise, we went and had tea, and it is not to be missed. A completely different experience with kids because, you know, they're loud and they're into things. Fun, but very different from it just being a couple. There is so much food though that they bring out to you. It is more than just tea. They of course bring you your tea. You get to have this fancy sit down tea at the hotel, which is amazing. Make sure you get there early so you can wander around and look at the grounds and take lots of pictures and all of that. But then you get your tea, plus you get all these scones and these sandwiches and these sweets and fruit and all this stuff. So good. I made a full meal out of it. Definitely well worth the price, and it's slightly cheaper if you book outside of the cruise line. Just be careful of your time that you have to be back on the cruise to make that work. Other things that we have done in Victoria in the past, we have done the Butterfly and Buschart Gardens tour. In my opinion, they do not give you enough time. I would pick one or the other. I would not pick both again because, especially the Buschart Gardens, you could spend all day out there. And the amount of time that we had before, we were rushing and we still did not get to see everything. And it is gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. If you've never been to Victoria, definitely check that out. The Butterfly Gardens were fun. As a tag on to the Buschart Gardens, it was nice. I don't know if I would do them on their own because I don't know if it would take up enough time, but if you just need a couple hours, it's a fun experience to have these butterflies landing all over you and the whole thing. The other thing that we noticed is on the waterfront is the Parliament building. So the last thing that we noticed in Victoria that I didn't know prior to this trip is just across from the waterfront you will see the Parliament building, which is amazing. It's so beautiful. It makes you feel like you've been transported back to Europe. And we decided we had a little bit of time before tea that we wanted to walk up and just kind of walk the grounds. There's all these beautiful gardens out front. We just wanted to walk the grounds and kind of check it out. Well, then we see this sign for free tours of the Parliament building, and your tour guide is of course in period dress and character, and they're free. So that's a little tip for you that I didn't know. Next time we go back to Victoria, I would love to do a tour. I think they last about an hour. And of course, who doesn't love free? So if you have a little bit extra time in Victoria, definitely go check that out. Let me know how that is. I want to do that one. The other thing I wanted to do that didn't have time was a tour of the castles, and I will link that down below as well if I can find it. That was through the cruise line, so I don't really know if they have their own website or not. So those were the things that we did in Victoria. Beautiful, gorgeous, gorgeous city. Be aware that if you get there on a weekday very early in the morning, everything will be closed. We decided to do some window shopping, but our ship got in at 9 and nothing opened till 10. So we're kind of killing a little bit of time there. That's where the whole coffee and snacks came in. So just check it out before you go. Try to find out what time you're going to be getting into your port of call. The other thing that we did was, I don't think we did it that day. That day we just went to the buffet, but any day that we had an early docking. So if we were docking at like 7 or earlier, and we knew we were going to want to get off the boat quickly and spend as much of our day in town as we could, we ordered room service the night before, which does not cost you any extra. It's just a tip, and so I would leave a tip. I figured that was kind of just my extra expense for the day, so that we immediately had breakfast in the morning. We didn't have to waste any time going up to the buffet or the restaurant. Not just the time of waiting for your meal to be cooked, but also the time of going up there, making sure everybody goes to the bathroom, making sure, going back to the room, making sure you have everything. You just have breakfast in your room that day. So that's Victoria, BC. Let me know if you've been there before and what your favorite part of the city was, or if there is a tip or excursion from this video that you'd like to check out. Leave me a comment down below. I'll talk to you later.